Omni chapter 1 verse 14. And they discovered a people who were called the people of Zarahemla. Now there was a great rejoicing among the people of Zarahemla, and also Zarahemla did rejoice exceedingly, because the Lord had sent the people of Mosiah with the plates of brass which contained the record of the Jews. So the question this week is, who were the people of Zarahemla that were discovered by Mosiah and his people? And so the answer to that question, Laura, who are the people of Zarahemla?
They're the Mulekites.
The Mulekites. So who are the Mulekites? And so Laura's going to give us a little summary of the Old Testament, the reference that we have here in Come Follow Me, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the dwellings of these people.
So I just learned all of this. I didn't know any of this either, but it gives us the reference to Jeremiah 52, 1 through 11, and that's when it talks about this. It talks about King Zedekiah in Jerusalem, and I guess what happened, just to make it, just to condense it. So Zedekiah was the king of Jerusalem. He was wicked. And then the king of Babylon, I guess his name was weird.
We'll just say
something.
King of Babylon.
So he eventually came and put siege to the city, and they tried to escape. Zedekiah tried to escape out the door, the gates, and he was caught, captured. And what the king of Babylon did is he took all of the sons of Zedekiah and killed them in front of Zedekiah, and then poked his eyes out and left him in prison. But there was one son, Mulek, who escaped, and it doesn't give details on, it's not in the Bible about Mulek, and so we don't know details on if he was warned beforehand and escaped, or at least I don't know of anywhere, what happened exactly. But Zedekiah had one son who was led forth from the land of Jerusalem and escaped with some people, and they were led to the land of promise and became the Mulekites.
So we receive confirmation and the full story through a second witness, the Book of Mormon.
Yes.
And so this happened around what year?
Well, it says it was 587, so about 13 years after Lehi left.
Yeah. So we know Lehi left on a prayer, right? So Lehi takes his family being warned or pre-warned of the destruction of Jerusalem. And so he flees with his family into the wilderness. And if you remember reading in 1 Nephi, a lot of the murmuring that was occurring between Laman and Lemuel and some of the people that were following Laman and Lemuel was, why can't we go back to Jerusalem? There's no way a great city like that can be destroyed. And then it wasn't until they received, I can't remember if it was when they got into the Promised Land or was when they got to Bountiful. When they got to Bountiful, and that was when Lehi received a spiritual witness that Jerusalem was destroyed. And so we learn, so they essentially received that witness, and he shared that witness with his kids, but still there was doubt. Still the people of Laman and his followers and his children and were still in doubt that Jerusalem was ever destroyed. And so now we flash forward all the way to what's happening in our present reading, as Amalekite is giving this record, and they discover this people. And they learn of this people, the Mulekites. And it's interesting about the Mulekites, just a little side note, they've lost their language because they didn't have records. And so we see here that written records are more than just teaching us truth and giving us a moral compass and providing prophecies and revelations, but their language was actually lost in the midst of not having records or keeping records. But we learn in this present reading that this became a confirmation to the Lord's righteous people here in the ancient Americas that Jerusalem in fact was destroyed, because Mulek and his people fled Jerusalem during the destruction, which is just, it's kind of a cool witness.
Kind of see it come full circle, how...
Because this part of the Book of Mormon really is the coming together of three people. You've got the Jaredites, the Mulekites, or the people of Zarahemla, and you've got the Nephites and Lamanites. And so you've got these three groups. This is when it all kind of, the stories mix. Yeah. The people of Zarahemla, the Jaredites, and Coriantumr, and anyways.
Yeah, it goes on the last section in Come Follow Me. The little paragraph talks about Coriantumr. How the people of Zarahemla had Coriantumr with them for, 9 moons or whatever, however long that is. and they were able to kind of see their story.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of fun. This kind of gets into probably the historical geek side of the Book of Mormon, which I kind of get into and get excited. But it is neat because the people of Zarahemla, the Mulekites, they have an interaction with Coriantumr. And Coriantumr, as we won't find out until later in this year, he is one of the last living Jaredites. And he also held the records of those people. And the Mulekites were unable to translate these records, and so it wasn't until King Mosiah and his people that they were able to. So this converging of these three people brings a lot of peace and comfort. And I think just probably ending, there's another reference here, Helaman 8:21, because I think the question that might ask, why? Why did all this happen? What was the importance of this? And we learn Helaman, which is now, Helaman's after Christ was born and died, and so generation to generation they're still talking about this converging of all three people. Let's read that verse of scripture. So that is Helaman 8:21. If we had a click option, we would just click it, but we're going to turn the pages. So Helaman chapter 8:21. Do you want to read that?
Okay, Helaman 8:21. And now will you dispute that Jerusalem was destroyed? Will ye say that the sons of Zedekiah were not slain, all except it were Mulek? Yea, and do ye not behold that the seed of Zedekiah are here with us, and they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem? But behold, this is not all.
So I find that really kind of cool. We're now in, I guess my history was a little off, but we're in 23 BC. We're right before the birth of Christ, but still we see here that many years later, they're still talking about this event of the people all coming together. And I just find that just kind of cool. How often do we rely on stories of our past where our relatives, our family, our friends had an experience when the Lord essentially manifested his will, like he was able to give a tender mercy to a group of people, and that story passes on from generation to generation. The people of the Nephites and the Lamanites having this story of meeting the Mulekites ended up being a testimony builder that they indeed were led by the hand of the Lord, and it was confirmation of all the struggles that they have been going
through.
Like
I said, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, all things will be established. You know, here you have 3 different groups of people who all witness the workings of the Lord and everything.
We found an interesting article, and we're gonna post it in the comments. If you would like to read more about the people of Zarahemla, the Mulekites, if you would like to read more about them and the interactions between these 3 groups, there's some interesting things out there, and so we'll post a link to that in the comments below. But I guess just in thinking of this, a question to kind of take away is, when have you seen that the Lord has confirmed that what you're doing is right? When in your life has the Lord given you that tender mercy and letting you know that you indeed are on the right path?